Hello, I'm Makori, and this is Kitco News coming to you from New York. Over 127 million Americans have now received stimulus payments as part of the third round. And with an estimated 85% of Americans qualifying for the latest infusion, many are still waiting for their helicopter money to land. Now, some Democratic lawmakers are already eyeing another stimulus check. A group of 10 Democratic senators are asking President Biden to include additional stimulus money in the next spending bill. They're even proposing recurring automatic direct payments. But my next guest says that all of this free money will only impoverish the poor and the middle class. Robert Kiyosaki is an entrepreneur, personal finance guru, and author of more than 26 books, including the international bestseller Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and the soon-to-be published Capitalist Manifesto. Robert, thank you so much for joining us here on Kitco.
Oh, my honor, Michelle. This is my favorite subject, and you guys, my favorite outlet. Thank you.
Well, the sentiment is mutual. Thank you for joining us again. All right, Robert, you recently tweeted that while the free money may make people happy now, that is going to be very short-lived. And as I mentioned, some Democrats are already pushing for recurring direct payments and automatic unemployment insurance extensions as part of the so-called Biden administration Build Back Better plan. So break it down for us, Robert. Why is this stimulus going to crash the economy and impoverish the poor and the middle class?
Well, if I could step back historically, in 1964, I was 17 years old, and I noticed a silver, my dime had a copper tinge around the edge of it. And I thought that was really strange. Why does a silver dime have copper on it? And the quarter had a copper edge on it too. A silver quarter had copper, and so did the half dollar. But that was when I became a gold and silver bug. So that's why I love Kitco, because I've been in silver since 1964, and I bought my first gold coin in Vietnam, actually in Hong Kong, in 1972, when it was illegal for Americans to own gold. I'm an Japanese American. But the reason it's not going to work, it goes really simply to this law here. It's Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good money. And so all the money these Democrats or whoever they are proposing, it's just going to print more fake money, more bad money. And it's going to drive out good money, which is good for gold and silver and some crypto. But the Biden plan is just going to just drive out, it's not going to work. It has never worked throughout history. You look at Gresham's law here, it didn't work since the time of the Romans. You know, when they were filing off the edges of their coins to get the silver out of the coins. It didn't, and violating Gresham's law brought to power a man named Adolf Hitler, which cost, 20-something million lives when all counted in. And as you know, from being from South Africa, Zimbabwe violated Gresham's law. So every time Gresham's law is violated, we have massive problems. So the Biden plan is going to make it 10 times worse. That's my concern.
All right, but break it down a little bit more simpler for us. What is Gresham's law, and why does this free money ultimately serve against the interests of the middle class?
Well, because it only makes them poorer. Let me give you another warning here.
How does it make them poorer, Robert? I guess that's the point I want to get across to our viewers. How does it make them poorer for those not familiar with Gresham's law?
Okay, so let me say what Lenin said. The best way to destroy the capitalist system is to debauch the currency. So what they do was when they print all that money, and the next guy here, another favorite of mine, I'm a former US Marine, and what Marx said is that there was only one way to kill capitalism, and that is by taxes, and more taxes. So you look at what Biden's proposing, he's going to print $4 trillion, and he's going to raise taxes. So what they're trying to do is stimulate inflation. But that makes it harder for the poor and middle class to survive. And so they feel good. They get this free check, it's going to be universal basic income or MMT, which I call a Marxist monetary theory. It's bad money. It has never worked throughout history. And as when you and I talk about Zimbabwe was the breadbasket of Africa, the rich country in Africa. And it used to be a Rhodesia named after Cecil Rhodes. And the moment Mugabe started printing all that fake money in Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe went from being the richest country in Africa to the poorest.
Well, it stands to reason then, Robert, that if we do have all of this inflation and all of the stimulus and taxes being raised, that to your point, gold and silver seem to be the best hedge against that. Is that what you advocate? Is that how people should be protecting themselves against this?
Well, that's why I said in 1964 when I was 17, I didn't know it at the time. When I saw that copper tinge around the US dime, I went, something is wrong. But intuitively, human beings know what real is and what fake is. And then when Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, that's why I went looking for gold. But throughout history, every time they've done this, it doesn't end well. So that's why I've been saying buy silver, buy gold. Now, this is the problem, as some of you guys know, the price of silver goes down, but you can't buy it. You can't find it in the stores. There's a shortage of silver. And the same with gold. I was trying to buy gold the other day and they said, I'm sorry, we can't deliver it to you. But the price isn't going up. So that means it's manipulated to me. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert on it. But for years and years and years, I've been saying, buy silver, buy gold, because that's real money, not ETFs, real gold, real silver, and keep it in safes far away from your house.
Well, Robert, you're a tad unusual in that you're a staunch advocate for precious metals, gold and silver, as well as Bitcoin and Ethereum. Now, although many are coming around to holding both, in December, you called that Bitcoin will hit 50K in early 2021, and you were correct. You even tweeted it. Let's read that tweet. Glad I bought Bitcoin. Next stop 50K. Wall of institutional money coming 2021. Buy below 20K. If you missed Bitcoin, buy silver. Silver set to move due to AOC's Green New Deal. America in trouble, future bright for gold, silver, Bitcoin, and entrepreneurs. All right, let's break down that advice there, Robert. You said buy below 20K. If you missed it, buy silver. Okay, so now that Bitcoin has hit a record high of over 61K and is now in the high 50K range, is it too late to get into Bitcoin? Where do you see it going?
That's a very good question, because it's always the entry point. Like, I bought Bitcoin at 9,000 and I thought I was being fleeced. But the reason I bought it at 9 was because COVID shut down the world economy. So I thought it was pretty, when they started printing, so I bought Bitcoin at 9. I wish I'd bought it at 10 cents, like a lot of people did. But now I look like a genius, because today it's around 55,000. This is April 2021. And I think it's going to go to 1.2 million in 5 more years. So I'm still advocating it all. I prefer gold and silver, I do, because Bitcoin is still untested. But I have the wherewithal to withstand the hit if it goes down. But gold and silver are God's money. I know, because I've traveled the world looking for this stuff. And I've been in the Andes, I've been in Mongolia, been in Argentina. I was just in Park City, which is a silver mining place. So I'm very much in favor of gold and silver, because it's God's money. God put it here. I'm not really religious, but I'm saying God put it here. And then now with AOC and her Green New Deal, silver is going to be used more and more for the environmental. So silver is an industrial metal, but like, the thing that really is strange is I can't buy it at retail. So I go to, a coin dealer and I just test them. I say, have you got any silver? I said, yeah, in about 6 months. Why is the price not higher then? That's what I don't understand.
Okay, let's focus on silver, but I certainly want to circle back to your Bitcoin projection. What do you think is going on with silver? Because you've indicated several times on this program, as well as on your own podcasts, that you suspect that there is some kind of manipulation in the silver market, driven perhaps by the fact that so many of the world's biggest corporations need it for their products, particularly in the tech sector. So expand on that a little bit for us, if you will.
Well, I think the big thing is, for batteries right now. And, there's Tesla, there's Sony, all the tech companies use silver. And they can't find. Another thing, too, which is a little bit too technical, is many of the silver mines are in hostile territory. They don't like us. I know because I've been to their countries looking for silver. So silver is getting rarer and rarer and rarer and more demand. Whereas, I have my gold watch, but you don't use it that much. It's just gold. But silver is burned up all the time. It's used in medicine. It's used in everything, water purification. So that's why for the last, I think, 15, 20 years, I've been very bullish on silver, and then I couldn't get it. So the other day I called my local dealer up and I said, have you got it? He says, you won't believe this. I got X amount. I said, I'll take it. I paid nearly $30 for it. I've never paid that much for silver, but I'm that bullish on it that I want to get as much as I can now before it moves again. So that's just my psychosis. I'm not saying I'm right. I just love silver. I love gold. I've been all over the world looking for it. I believe in Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good money. And this guy Biden, I'm not blaming Biden, please get me, I'm not Republican or Democrat. I'm just saying that the system is forcing all of us to become gold and silver and possibly crypto buyers right now.
All right, well, let's hit back on that crypto point, because you said you're projecting Bitcoin to be worth over $1 million in about 5 years' time. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And why? Why do you think that? And why do you not think that the government may intervene in one form or another?
Well, I think they'll try, but the problem is too big, Michelle. Our pensions are going bust. Baby boomers have no money. They shut down the economy. Biden's going to print another 1.9 trillion. So it has never worked. It's Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good money. So when a guy like me gets my hand on a Bitcoin, I'll never spend it. And when I have gold and silver, I've only spent a little bit of my gold. I've never sold it. I'd rather save it. So when I need money, because I'm a real estate guy like Trump, I borrow money. So when interest rates drop really, really low, like they are now, under 4%, I'll borrow millions of dollars because it's fake money. And I'll spend fake money, but I save gold, silver, and today some Bitcoin. Bitcoin is untested yet. Mm-hmm. But that's why I was happy to get some at 9,000. And I may buy some again today or tomorrow just because I'm more bullish on it. But I'm not bullish on gold, silver, or Bitcoin. I'm just bearish on Biden and his communist gang. That's what I don't like.
You're seeing crypto, gold, and silver really then as a way to safeguard against dollar devaluation.
Yeah, I don't trust the academic elite. That's called Bernanke and Yellen, and now we have Powell. These guys are communists. They print money. They're central bankers. I really don't like how they screw everybody. It makes me rich because all the CEOs take all this fake money and they drive up the stock price. But the working class guy is getting screwed. The person working for money, trying to pay the rent, they can't afford to buy a house. They don't buy stocks. They're just surviving day to day, and the price of food keeps going up and all this. That's what happens when you print money. That's what brought Hitler to power. After 1918, when the Weimar Republic started printing all this fake money. You saw it in Zimbabwe. It's happening in Venezuela. and they screw the poor. It makes me sad. Why don't we, I've always said, why don't we have financial education in school? Just teach them Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good money. Yet our school teachers, those idiots, teach kids to save money. You got to be crazy. Just tell kids to save silver. They'd be a lot better off.
Well, that certainly has worked for you, Robert. So you say gold, silver, Bitcoin are really all ways to protect against the dollar devaluation. But Bitcoin is not the only crypto that you like. You also like Ethereum. Why do you like Ethereum? Do you see institutional investors getting into Ethereum as well as you correctly called that they would be getting into Bitcoin?
No, it's Michelle, I'm an old guy, Trump and I are the same age. And I hang out with young guys and I ask them questions about Bitcoin and Ethereum. And there's so many different crypto. The reason I say Bitcoin is untested, because it is untested. It's only been around since about 2009 or something. So that's why I'm very cautious with it, the same as all the other altcoins. And I think altcoins are here to stay, but I don't know which one will survive. Remember, I don't know if you're too young, when Amazon came out, so did pets.com. And people were buying pets.com and pets.com disappeared and Amazon became the behemoth of the world. So I didn't know anything about .com and I don't know anything about crypto. So I talked to the young guys who are in it every single day and they kind of filled me up. So they told me to buy, I interviewed this guy, Robert Breedlove. He's a CPA plus a finance guy from Wall Street and all this. And he is probably the most knowledgeable on Bitcoin in my personal experience. And he is the one who's saying it's 1.2 million. So of all the people, I trust him. Then I asked him, I said, what happens if somebody, like let's say you and I start our own coffee Bitcoin. He says, the beauty of Bitcoin is it adapts. So if this coffee Bitcoin starts kicking Bitcoin's butt, the Bitcoin will adapt. It's very similar to Amazon. Amazon adapted. It could morph. It could change as new .coms came online. It could absorb them. So that's why social media is so strong today. Once they got a foothold, they could take over any competitor they had. So the cryptocurrencies, everybody's into cryptocurrency. Every young guy's trying to start their own Bitcoin now. But what this guy, Robert Breedlove, was telling me, Bitcoin will eat them alive. So I don't know if that's true or not, but being an old guy, I got to trust the young guys. That's all I'm saying. Okay,
well, we're certainly not ageists here at Kitco News, so no need to reference that as any kind of qualifier or disqualifier. But Robert, one of the reasons that you thought Bitcoin was going to go higher, and you called it correctly, was because you saw that there would be institutional investors getting into Bitcoin. Do you think that we're going to see a similar trend with institutional investors getting into Ethereum?
Possibly. I mean, you're really asking the wrong. I'm pretty good, Michelle. I'm pretty good with gold and silver. I've been all over the world. I was in Mongolia. I was in the Andes. I've been in Argentina. I love the stuff. I love gold and silver. Like I said, I was just in Park City. I wanted to see the mining museum there. I'm a old guy miner. I like it. And I can see, touch, and feel it. I own lots of gold and silver. I have no ETFs, zero. I have some mining shares, but I don't trust paper. I don't trust Wall Street, and I don't trust my government. That's why.
Right, longtime supporter of gold and silver, but you have also long advocated for investing in real estate as a source of income. Invest in property that is not your primary residence. That's one of the founding principles of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. All right, but now, Robert, we have the government basically saying, hey, it's okay to not pay rent. There is a rent and eviction moratorium, and there's pressure from the left to extend this. And very few people stop to think, okay, well, what does that mean for the landlord of the property or the owner that needs that rent income to pay for his own family or pay salaries to the building staff? So in this environment, when we have a culture right now where authorities, and let's focus on New York, for example, where authorities are saying there's no need to pay your rent, does it change your position on the safety of real estate as an investment?
Well, that's a very good question because it does depend upon your red state or blue state. You see, I'm from Hawaii. I own zero property in Hawaii because they're a communist nation. I used to live in California. I own no property in California. I only own property in red states like Arizona and Texas and things like that. The other thing about real estate is dependent upon jobs. So I don't have low income housing. When I buy real estate, like in San Antonio, Texas, I bought a huge 450 unit apartment house right next to a hospital chain. And as you know, hospitals are in high demand. So so when I'm buying, I've got to make sure that it's a red state, not a communist state. And there's got to be a demand for what I call workforce housing, for all the nurses and orderlies and all that next to a hospital. So when I'm buying real estate, I'm very cautious who my customer is. Like next to hospitals and another one's insurance companies, they'll always be in business. So I'm only buying property where there's jobs. So I'm very cautious about that. I'm just really fortunate. I was going to buy an office building not too far from my house. I'm glad I didn't buy it because it's empty today. Everybody's working from home. So sometimes some of the best deals I bought are the ones I didn't get. But everything's changing so fast. That's a very valid question you ask. But always remember this, real estate is dependent upon jobs. That's the most important thing.
All right, point taken, Robert, that real estate is linked to jobs. So what is your outlook on commercial real estate then? Because office buildings have taken a knock with people working from home. Still to be determined how the vaccine and then people returning to work in the office will impact all of that. But retail has also been hard hit, and that was happening even pre-pandemic. So is there a real estate sector that you would avoid?
Well, let's go back again to Amazon. Like I was talking about, Bitcoin will adapt to the environment and it'll absorb any competitor coming in. Well, that's what Amazon did. It absorbed anybody who came into it. So Amazon is now eating retail. So I would hate to be a retailer today, because you have to compete with Amazon, who's going to bring your prices down because they can deliver more for less. And the same as a hotel. I have one bad property. It's a hotel, but thank God it had 3 golf courses on it. So we sold off the golf courses and we're out. We got very lucky. And a real estate developer bought the golf courses to put condominiums on it. But the hotel would have eaten me alive. So I got lucky on that one too. So there are things like that happen, but that's why I like being an entrepreneur, is because you're always solving problems, if you know what I mean. Nothing goes as planned.
Solving problems and nothing goes as planned. Well, I think it's safe to say that your book sales have gone as planned. And one of the main themes of your investing principles, if I may summarize, is that cash is trash.
Yes.
All right, cash is trash, and billionaire Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater, he is right there with you on that one. He's also sounding the alarm on inflation, telling people to just buy stuff with their money. He's also concerned that there could be some regulation that prohibits a flight of money into assets like gold and like Bitcoin. Others are sharing that sentiment. Michael Burry, the fund manager who famously spotted the mortgage crisis ahead of the 2008 financial crisis, the guy that was profiled in The Big Short, well, he's also saying that assets viewed as an alternative to the dollar, like Bitcoin, like gold, are at risk from a government crackdown. Robert, how concerned are you about that? How concerned are you that gold and Bitcoin could face tax changes or some form of regulation?
That's a very serious concern. As we're talking, Michelle, I just got a letter from my bank. They want to take my savings. And the reason is because I hate to say this, I have cash because I can't spend it fast enough. And
what do you mean they want to take your savings, Robert? Can't just let that one go.
No, they said, I got this stupid letter. I just talked to my wife about it. She said, what are they saying to us? They just said, because your account's been inactive for over 2 years, we took it to the limit, $250,000, and we just stash it because we're real estate guys. We have cash flow. So they said, I'm sorry, but you're not using your account. We're going to seize it. They're going to give it to charity. And I read that. My attorney has it right now. So what are these guys saying? What is the bank saying? So what you're saying is today's problem for me. And I'm looking into it. The government's so desperate for money. I think they'll come after anybody. So that's another way of saying it, is that in 1933, Roosevelt made owning gold illegal. This is why when I bought gold in Vietnam in 73, I had to smuggle it in, the Kruger end. Wasn't hard to do, but I smuggled it in. And so today, I have my money stored in different parts of the world legally. I don't do anything illegal. I make sure all the contracts are signed and everything's legal and all this. But what you're talking about is a very, very serious concern amongst the affluent. And the reason for that, Michelle, is because the poverty in America is going up. The more they print money, the more poor people we produce. And that's why Biden, and I'm not blaming Biden, but all these people, like people who believe in giving people fish, we're just creating more poor people. My friends cannot find helpers, cannot find workers, because they say, you can't pay us enough. So we're paying people not to work. And it's getting harder and harder for the entrepreneur to hire people. If that's not communism, I don't know what is. That's Marxism. So that's why I showed you those signs. What Marx says is, the one sure way to kill capitalism is taxes, taxes, and more taxes. And Lenin said, the best way to kill capitalism is to debauch the currency. Well, that's what we're doing today. So that's why for all these years, I've been a fan of Kitco. It's because you guys spread the news. People have got to stay informed today. It's changing so fast.
Well, I guess it always comes to the question of when, Robert. When do you see all of this doom and gloom really manifesting itself and coming to a head?
Well, it's here. I hate to tell you that. It's when Biden goes. Do you remember back when 2008 or something, they had TARP, it was 700 billion. But when's it going to be 7 trillion? They can't stop. The book is called When Money Destroys Nations. It's a story of Zimbabwe, written by Philip Haslen, Haslen. Very small book, but worth reading. But in the 7 falls, once you start jumping, you can't stop. And America cannot stop jumping right now. So I don't care if you own peanuts. It's better than owning dollars. Peanuts have more value than dollars. You know what I mean?
Certainly have nutritional value. I'm a big fan of peanuts, Robert. Look, speaking of books, I do want to talk to you about your upcoming book, Capitalist Manifesto. And last time you were here on Kitco News, you briefly touched on it with my very smart and talented colleague, David Lynn.
Yeah.
And you told David that this is the first time in your life that you're actually a little scared about writing a book. Expand on that for us.
Well, let me say it again. I went to military school in New York, and then I joined the U.S. Marine Corps to fight in Vietnam. So I'm a hardcore American, 4th generation. I had uncles. I had 7 uncles fight in World War II. 2 were captured by the Japanese. And so what happened not too long ago, Michelle, was the Washington, I think it's the Washington Post, that communist magazine or newspaper, called me a racist. I went, what? And then I was held out as a white supremacist. I looked in the mirror and said, I haven't turned white yet. There's something sick inside America. And so when they eliminate Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head, And now men are competing against women in transgender sports and all this. And I'm afraid of speaking out, and I'm afraid of losing the Second Amendment, my guns. We're losing our freedom. And so I'm not Republican or Democrat. Trump is my really good friend. You want to vote for Biden? Fine. I don't really care. You want to be a communist? Fine. But don't take my freedom of speech. And don't take my guns, because that's what they fought for. So when I'm writing Capitalist Manifesto, which should be out this summer, it's the hardest book I've ever had to write because I have to be pretty concise and clear. But I'm fighting for our freedoms. I'm a Marine. I'm still fighting for our freedoms. My concern is we're losing to communism via our school system. Most school teachers, not that they're bad people, because my poor dad was an academic. He's an academic elite. He ran the teachers' unions and all that stuff. They believe on one side. And that was my poor dad. My rich dad was a capitalist. And so I was educated by two different fathers. My poor dad, a PhD, went to Stanford, University of Chicago, and Northwestern. Head of education, head of the teachers union. And my rich dad was a man who never went to school. And he taught me about real estate, about capitalism, being an entrepreneur. And today, that's who I am. And I fight for that right. And when Dr. Fauci and the rest of those communists up there in the World Health Organization, or whoever they are, shut down the world economy, I went, oh my God. Oh my God. Because what causes communism and socialism is the gap between rich and poor. And it's getting worse. And when you print money, it gets worse. So I'm still a Marine. I'm Japanese American, fourth generation. But I am an American. And when those SOBs call me a racist, I get very angry, because the real racists are the people calling other people racists. That's what upsets me. Because the American people I know, of course, there are always a few racists, but they're the best people. That's why I fight for.
Well, we thank you for taking the time to share your fight with us here on Kitco News, and very much looking forward to having your book, Capital Manifesto, out there and published for everyone to read. Robert, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for Kitco. I mean, I'm sincere about that. I was 17 years old. I looked at that little dime and I said, there's something wrong. And that's Gresham's law. Bad money chases out good money. And so the good money is gold and silver. Hang on to it.
No, point made, point made. Thank you so much, Robert Kiyosaki. Thanks for joining us. And thank you for watching Kitco News. Stay tuned for more.